in Lisa and Maddie Butis into Running Point. Guys, hello. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us today.
Having us.
Yes, thanks for having us, Anthony.
You got it. I mean, we're having you on because one, Fitch won the regional final on Friday. So my first question for both of you, one as a parent, one as a player, what did it feel like to kind of see that team win on the stage that they got to a year before and make that next step and punch your ticket to Firestone Stadium for the first time in 30 years?
As a parent, I was so nervous on Friday going into that day. I mean, I had played softball, and it's a different view though when you're in the stands, and I want to be out there making those plays with them, and it just it's a whole nother level of intensity. But once we got on the board and then got up by 4, I knew nobody would be able to score that many runs on Sydney. We're pretty secure in being able to win at that point.
Yeah, it was an unbelievable feeling. The whole season, we wanted to get farther than what we did last year, which ended in the regional finals. So to be able to win that game and get to state was unreal.
Maddie, for you, what were some of the things that were going through your head before the game started? I mean, were there nerves? Was it more excitement? What were some of the feelings that you had, stepping into the field regional final Friday?
Yeah, there were definitely nerves. I feel nervous before every game. Just you never know when it could be your last game also. So there were definitely nerves, but we like to make big moments small and just like really focus down and stay in ourselves. So once we really stepped on the field after the national anthem, all those nerves went away because I knew I had my girls behind me and we were going to play great.
Lisa, you talked about watching from the stands and how nervous that makes you as a parent and as a fan of this team. A couple of games in a row that were real nail biters, 2-0, 2-0. This one, the Falcons were able to get a big lead, as you said, and then run with it, 11-1, the final score. Was it easier to watch that kind of game as a parent to know pretty quick you guys?
Oh, I'm sorry, Anthony, you had cut out there. I missed the second part of that.
Was it easier as a parent to watch that game that you guys ran away with, and knew pretty early that you guys had that locked down?
Oh, definitely. I mean, those other games were super intense. And once again, we got on the board, I had a good feeling about those 2 games, but still couldn't, relax or really enjoy the games. Where that Walsh game, then you could see the girls having fun and just knowing that we were most likely going to win that at that point. It's just so much funner to be able to watch the game in that situation than those nail biters. I'm ready to go to my car or hide under a blanket. I can barely stay in the stands even.
You were on the team in 1994, and you were an 8th grader in 1993, the last Fitch team that went to state. So you got to watch all those girls go to state and then really get close yourself 2 years in a row, your freshman and sophomore season. To see this Fitch team not just go to state this year, but also the last 2 years kind of be back to where your teams were and the teams that you grew up watching were. What has that meant to you as a Fitch alum and as someone that has poured a lot into this program?
I mean, it's amazing. The girls I played with were absolutely astonishing. And to see Madison get to play with the same level as those girls has been wonderful. I don't really talk about the years that I played, but I talk about that I was in the years of Jerry Beltempo and Wendy Gifford. And now Madison can say that she played in the years of Steve Ward and Sydney Watts. And Sydney and Wendy were very similar types of pitchers. Wendy in 95 was the only pitcher that we had, and she pitched every one of our games, just as Sydney is. And Wendy was definitely intense to play behind. I mean, I was the shortstop at that point in my sophomore year, and Wendy had this grunt that was so intimidating to the other team and even to us. And we knew the harder she threw, the louder that grunt got. And, seeing Sydney pitch, I wouldn't want to step in a box with her, just as I so glad Wendy was on my team and I didn't have to step in the box with her either.
Maddie, I got to ask from your perspective, obviously playing with Sydney, and she's one of the players that is kind of labeled as like the once in generation type player that comes through and probably can play college anywhere she wants. Because of that, you guys get a lot of attention. A lot of eyes are on Fitch. A lot of national eyes are on Fitch. A lot of people are watching from the national, high school softball scene. What's that like for you being a part of this kind of phenomenon that is Fitch softball right now?
Oh, it's wonderful. Sydney's such a humble player, too, where most people, when you talk to her outside of softball, you would never think she's as good as what she is. and she's just a wonderful person all the time. She was just here like 10 minutes ago swimming in my pool, and we were talking about the upcoming games. But it's great getting the spotlight on all of us because there's so many girls who are going to be playing at collegiate levels on our team. So for everyone to get the spotlight, it's great.
Hey, you're both big softball fans. You get to go into Firestone Stadium, which used to host professional softball. A lot of the legends of this sport has played in this stadium. What's it mean to both of you to kind of see this program kind of get to that spot and be able to play in the best softball stadium in the state of Ohio, the only place you could play a state championship? What's that going to mean for both of you?
I love that she gets to go back to Akron Firestone Stadium. In travel ball, she's had many games there and has had championships get there. One most memorable one was against an Akron Ice team that was a great team when she was playing with Julie Stakowitz and Tori Strines and McKenna Hogan. And we won that tournament there on that field and all got to be out there. And it's just a beautiful field and an amazing experience to get to play there and to get to watch games there. So I am so excited that it's essentially our home field still, and we get to go and on hopefully Friday and Saturday and get to experience watching them play on that sort of stage again.
Yeah, I'm very excited too. Like how she said, I've played there before multiple times. We've had tournaments there and we've won a tournament there. So we know what it's like. And it's turf now, I've heard. So that'll be even nicer since we come from a turf field.
Brand new turf. They just solidified it a couple of weeks ago, so it's going to be fun to kind of christen Firestone Stadium with a bunch of state semifinals. Lisa, I'm wondering, well, from your point of view, we know how close knit this Fitch community is, and especially the parent groups of the softball team. I know a couple of them you've known long before the varsity career started with travel and everything like that. But I'm sure there have been friendships that have been bonded over Fitch softball with this parent group. What's it been like to be a part of this kind of I want to say family of Fitch softball from the parent side? We always ask the family part of the player side, but your parents, you're going through it as much as you're build the relationships with the families of the softball players at Fitch.
Oh yeah, I mean these parents, these kids, they are our family members. Like Maddie said, Cindy and Ayla were both just here. They just walk right in the house. They go swimming. McKenna Hogan, Madison has played with since she was 10 years old. Those individuals are our family. My husband actually graduated high school with Steve Hogan and Kurt Mitchell, and all three of us now have senior starting daughters on this team. So getting to see all of them play together and the bonds that even those guys have had since they were in high school, graduating in 1991, has just been unbelievable. Even through the travel scene, I played travel ball for Ed A with Julie or Kim Stackowitz Shrines, and for Madison then to get to play with them 20 years later on their teams and play with their daughters, and Ed even coached Madison for a couple of those years. It was just amazing to get to see the same coach and to essentially be a father and a grandfather to her also.
Such a full circle moment. Do you ever stop and pinch yourself on like how the stars have aligned and so many things are coming full circle for your family?
Definitely. I mean, Ed will post pictures from when I was 15, 16 years old playing for him with Kim and Lindsay and Nikki all right there by me. And I tell Madison that one day they will be watching their kids playing and we'll be the grandma, like Denise A, screaming hits and runs there and rooting on our kids.
Maddie, what are some of the biggest advice that you've gotten from your mom as far as softball, being someone that has played in these kind of situations and played in regional finals herself? What were some things that she told you before the regional final that you took to heart?
My mom's always been a big support with me in softball and always telling me like what to do, how to fix things, but just to keep going, to keep putting in work, to keep getting better, because eventually we were going to get there. We always knew this was going to happen. We were going to be a state team. So she always just tells me to keep trying my hardest and things will align.
It's only Monday. I feel like we're going to be patiently waiting until Friday just to come along. How are you guys going to handle this week? How are you going to try to keep it as normal as possible as a team? And what's it going to be like trying to prepare for, another team that you don't know too much about, going up against Lebanon all the way from Cincinnati? What's it going to be like to just kind of have another week with your team and to be able to prepare for another game?
Yeah, we didn't have practice today because it was Memorial Day, so he was kind of giving us a day off. But we have practice Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. I think we're going to do some like live pitching and more defensive work, just keeping everything normal, how we've done all season, because we have a big focus on consistency. and not changing the way we do.
Lisa, how are you going to handle the excitement heading into the week? How are you going to handle having to wait until Friday?
Yeah, I'm still living right now in the moment of the win from Friday, so I'm feeling good right now. But I know as Thursday rolls around, definitely Friday morning, I don't know how I'm going to function. I mean, it will be hard to even drive to Akron at that point. This Friday, I couldn't even speak to anybody. I was so nervous till, like I said, we got those like 4 runs. So hopefully board quick again and I will be able to feel much better. But regardless, just getting to state now, I mean, this is such a huge accomplishment. I feel like, we've already won. It's been such a great season.
You brought up being close with the Stackwitz family, and obviously Julie and South Range are also going to be in the state semifinals, as well as Canfield. What's it mean to you as a fan, and Maddie as a player that has played it with and against a lot of these players, to see so many local athletes succeed in softball and kind of prove that our area is not one to be messed with when it comes to the softball talent?
Oh, yeah. I mean, and just the small vicinity of Austintown and essentially 2 Canfield teams that have gotten to this level, it is absolutely amazing. And when I started playing travel ball 30 years ago, there was barely any travel teams out there. And now, I mean, our area is just inundated with them. But you see what a strong and dominant area that this, Mahoning Valley is for girls softball. Even in Austintown Fitch, I don't know that there's been many other girls teams at all that have ever gotten to the but now we can say softball has twice. And I mean, it's just such a huge accomplishment to be able to say that I play softball. My daughter plays softball for Fitch, and we actually have a younger one, JV team for Fitch. And I even tell her all the time, you're still a part of this. You practice with those girls, you push them, and just to be any part of Fitch softball, it's a huge honor.
Maddie, what's it like for you knowing the players that you've played against and with are also kind of making the trip down to state as well? And you can say that you've played against Canfield twice, who's going to a state semifinal, and you scrimmaged South Range and you play with the Stackwitz. And what's it like knowing that there's so much that you are familiar with going down to state with you guys?
Yeah, Canfield and South Range are both really good teams, so they deserve that all the way to be there. And we're friends with both of them. Like, I have friends on Canfield, obviously friends on South Range. So I'm really close with both those teams. I played with Sam Suzanne as well on travel. So it is like mostly just like a proud feeling that we're all down there representing Mahoning Valley, and we're all going to put up a show.
All right, Lisa, we always ask the players about superstitions during games and superstitions, that they have. But as a parent watching the games, do you have any superstitions that you try to stick to help this team win?
Not so much. I mean, I did notice that I was wearing the same shirt each week for that day, Friday, things like that. I didn't want to change that up. I'm not sure what I will have on this week yet, but I mean, I just love watching Madison out there and the joy that she does bring to the team and the excitement. And when I can see that she's having fun, I know that it's going to be a good game. I don't want the girls super nervous. And, her and Ayla always start the game out with Madison running underneath Ayla's legs at shortstop. And the other team must think they're absolute goofballs, but I think they need that tension breaker. So as long as I see them still doing that, I know that it's going to be a good game and that they're not overly nervous because they are first and foremost still having fun out there.
Did you have any superstitions as a player when you were playing that you kind of kept a routine in?
I didn't have so much as superstitions, but I had nervous tics, which I know Madison also has had through the years, where I had to constantly be moving, and I would play shortstop or second base, and I would almost dig a hole into the ground where I was at because my feet were just constantly going. And I have noticed most of the time I can't sit in the stands. I need to be standing, and I'm constantly moving something where I almost feel like I want to be out there with them and I want to make that next play, but I just can't sit still at that point.
My last question for you as a softball fan, I obviously I couldn't watch in the 90s. What do you think is the biggest way that softball has changed since you played?
Definitely the intensity. We lifted and had open gyms, but they're nothing like the program that Fitch has right now. Like I said, there was not many travel teams at that time. I came right out of slow pitch when I was in 8th grade and went on to Fitch's team and then into travel ball. A lot of the girls stayed there for a longer amount of time, which now fast pitches starting at 8 years old for these girls. So they are getting much better, much faster than what we did at that time. We also used to play in shorts. So I always show Madison pictures, and we still slid and did everything else. So I remember my knees being all torn up and bleeding and all that if you didn't slide correctly, but we played in shorts at that time.
All right, I want to hear from Maddie one more time before we get out of here. So my last question for you, Maddie, is when you had the final out for the regional final, who was the first teammate that you had to celebrate with?
Oh, the first one that I went to was Ayla, because Ayla's like my best friend always, and we always hug after almost every game. So I saw her. I was on third base, and I scored the winning run from Caitlin's hit, and I think Ayla was going around third at that time. So as soon as I scored, I turned around and I saw her, and we ran at each other and hugged. And then everyone went over to Caitlin to give her a big hug for the win.
All right, what a great full circle moment. Maddie and Lisa, thank you so much for coming on the show today and talking about how it's been like to have such a big, strong Fitch family. And we appreciate the time. We wish you the best of luck in this upcoming week. And we will see you on Friday at Firestone Stadium for a state semifinal.
Thank you. And thank you
so
for
much.
all your coverage of them.
You got it. We'll see you soon, guys.
Bye.